Someday we're going to record a pre-reel, and the following statement will be nonsensical because there'll be a pre-reel for it. But welcome to Richard and Karl Presents Deep Space and Dragons. I would present you physical deep space, but technically be an empty box. My name is Richard.
My name is Karl, and I would present you a dragon, but, I mean, if they did exist, they seem to have gone extinct.
Or they just went somewhere better.
I mean, that's entirely possible. They might have just gone to an alternate dimension, but who knows? Maybe a company like Colossus will, find dragon DNA and splice it onto a lizard, and then we'll have, Komodo dragons that are actual dragons.
Man, they make a throwaway line in World Trigger where they just straight up go, oh yeah, these invading neighbors were probably every extraterrestrial sighting, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, and basically all supernatural phenomena were just them abducting people for try-on organs.
Oh.
And it kind of tracks. But before we get too far into the weeds here about our very focused, very on-brand podcast, what's new in the Karlverse?
Well, I mean, maybe I don't say this as much as I have in the past, but, on our podcast, we believe in self-care, like you stay hydrated, exercise, go see a doctor every now and then. I mean, just you got to keep yourself in prime condition, right? So I went to see a doctor for a checkup, and he told me to go get some blood work done. Cool. I don't really like getting blood work done. At least, so one time I went and got blood work done, and I watched.
Pulled it from your body and used it to chop someone made of diamonds into merch.
No, but I watched them. They stuck the needle in, and then I watched the blood spurt into the little vial.
Trigger warning! Blood spurting. Ugh. Remember, this is one of my weaknesses. You're doing psychic damage to me. Please continue.
Well, apparently, it's one of my weaknesses too, because I looked at it and my vision started to fade as I saw the vial they were filling.
Oh no!
I didn't actually pass out, but ever since then, I've been like, okay, I can't watch. So I'll close my eyes or look away or whatever, right? So I go to the redacted clinic, and I have an appointment, so I get in right away. And they take my requisition sheet, sheet they call it, and they're like, okay, just need to confirm your name and date of birth. Confirm my name and date of birth. And this lady, she wasn't very friendly, but she was a pro, because I look away and I don't hardly even feel the needle prick in, and then she had to take 3 different samples, and she managed to change all the vials without actually disturbing the needle somehow. So it was super quick, it was done, and that was completely painless. I was like, okay, cool. And they're like, okay, and you gotta do a urine sample. It's like, oh, well, I went to the washroom right before I came here. It would have been nice to know beforehand, but whatever.
It's will you provide me some tea or something? Is a fair response to that.
No, but so I just took the container home. I was planning on going back later with the urine sample.
Yeah.
But 3 or 4 hours later, I get a call from Redacted Clinic, and they're like, is your family doctor, is it this Dr. Milan? I was like, yeah, that's my family doctor. They're like, okay.
I don't think you doxed anyone there.
Oh, well, I don't think so. I'm assuming there's more than one Dr. Milan in the world.
All right, so we'll go with Dr. Moana for now, and that should brainwash
Dr.
people
Moana.
enough.
Anyway, he's not really relevant to the story.
But he could be one of our listeners.
Maybe. Anyways, but maybe 5 minutes later, they call me back and they're like, oh, yeah, there was a mix-up. We need you to come back and do blood work again.
They lost your blood?
I'm like, uh-oh.
There's a vampire stealing your blood.
that would be more exciting. So by this time, I've been able to get my urine sample. I'm like, okay, I need to go back anyway. So I go back to the clinic, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll get you in right away. We'll get it done real quick for you, because we screwed up or whatever. And I sit down, and the lady that took my blood the second time, she was very friendly, and I much more appreciated that part of the experience. But Holy Dinah, she was so much less gentle with the needle and with the changing of the vials and stuff. It was like, ah.
So you got
And
stabbed?
then, well, I mean, it definitely hurt a little more. And the one arm is kind of bruised. The other arm is like, there's just a little prick mark from where the needle is. It's like, because I didn't get it done on the same arm, because that would have just been madness.
That would have just been madness, although apparently you have a lucky arm, it turns out.
Maybe, or maybe it was unlucky, because I guess the first lady, whom I assumed was extremely competent and professional, I guess, I don't know if my stickers were on the same sheet as someone else's or what, but she put the wrong person's label on my samples.
Oof.
And so then the hospital's all confused because this Madeline person, I have no idea who they are.
No, I'm telling you, this was all done intentionally for a vampire just to score a lunch. Like, blood just goes missing because it got sent to a non-existing person is like the most economical way to vampire in 2025. Like, not only do you get a look at their health records and know how clean the blood is, but like, who's hunting down missing blood? You're fine. Perfect crime.
Perfect crime for a vampire. But regardless, as far as I know, the second sample was successfully sent to my vampire doctor. Dr. Moana, the vampire.
Moana's such a great name for a vampire. No one would see it coming.
But then today I received a call from the doctor's office, and I guess I'm a little bit like I'm slightly concerned it may be something to do with this whole kerfuffle of the blood getting swapped around. But they're like, yeah, actually, we need you to do like more blood work and stuff. And I was like, oh, well, okay, I guess I'll have to go get more blood work done.
So
hopefully, it's not just a random misunderstanding.
So on one hand, I care about my friend's health. On the other hand, I know who you are as a person. And it's like your blood at this point is really more of a sauce. I know your eating habits. What you're going to be told is you should improve your eating habits. You're 30-something now. That's what's going to happen if I had to guess.
Well, my guess, aside from just
misfiled
blood samples getting misfiled, but my guess, I was once told by a blood lab technician or
a
nurse or whatever.
if you
Are
will.
the nurses?
Sanguinist.
Anyways, they were taking my blood and they're like, oh, you have really thin blood. And I've thought about it. It's like, okay, well, I mean, I don't bruise especially easily, but I do often bleed even when I'm hit by blunt objects.
I remember you telling me that the metal counter is made out of blood thinner.
Maybe.
And me being like, what is this coated with? And like actually taking that statement far too seriously.
Anyways, like I was at work a while ago, and I'm just working away, and then I see there's a blood smear on the counter. I'm like, what? Where'd this come from? And I look at the tip of my finger, and I have no idea how I cut myself, but it's just this tiniest little cut that's just bleeding a tiny little bit, but it wouldn't stop bleeding for like 3 hours.
I do just love this idea that vampires have just been feeding off you for years.
Maybe. I don't know. In any event, that's my theory, is that it has something to do with my blood being thin.
Oh. Well, on the plus side, I was really nervous during the story you were just going to tell me live on recorded podcast you had cancer, because that's a Karl move. That is an insane Karl move you would do, is be like, so I learned I have a rare autoimmune disorder, and the first time you're finding about it is on this live podcast. I'm just saying, if anyone were to pull that, it would be you specifically.
I first things first, like I say, I believe in self-care, and going to see the doctor, if it is feasible for you, is a part of self-care.
Especially if you have student benefits to drain.
Because if there is something that is seriously wrong, it's better to catch it early and then hopefully be able to still have a long and happy life. You know, like that's
fair.
That's the moral of the story is keep up self-care, and getting regular medical checkups is an important part of self-care.
Man, I did the opposite of physical self-care this week. I think it would count as emotional self-care, though.
Well, so what is new in the Richard verse?
Okay, so last week I was planning to do nothing, but unfortunately ended up popular. Did I mention the gala on the last episode?
You did mention the gala. Someone gave you money to buy a ticket.
So I ended up going to this gala last week. That was last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember anymore. I think I told you pre-gala, but not post-gala.
Pretty sure that's how that worked.
Time has lost all meaning. So, due to a friend of mine that I met at a wedding well, I knew beforehand, but we had met up at a friend's wedding, mutual friend's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And this friend kind of unlocked an ability in me. So this friend dragged me to the dance floor and was like, if I can dance, anyone can dance. And this person is objectively, they're cool, but not in the conventional sense. So this particular friend, who shall remain nameless, is not the person you'd expect on a dance floor, ever. But, like, that's where I, practice, because I had this lightning rod drawing everyone's attention away to do dancing. So at this gala, I'm using the free bar for everything it's worst, because it was an open bar, enjoying waves and meals, singing karaoke, busting on the dance floor, because I had a theory. No one will ever believe my 10 or so classmates that were there that this happened. No one will believe that Richard, as soon as the music started, took off his tie, threw it behind him dramatically, threw off the blazer, went straight onto the dance floor, and started busting a move. No one will ever believe them that this happened. Nor will they ever believe when he climbed up on stage and poorly sang Eye of the Tiger and then sang a romantic duet during karaoke. These are not things people can imagine me doing, because I am objectively terrible at them. But that's the bit, is no one will ever believe them that this happened. Even listening to this podcast, it sounds fake. The idea that I just went and actually, partied at this gala is insane to visualize. But it was, such a YOLO moment of, the only people from this who will ever see me again are people who actively try to stay in touch with me. Which...
Right.
I gave that line from Brooklyn Nine-Nine a few times to people who have been saying all week, goodbye forever unless you Google my name and click on the first result and send a message. I'm the most easily doxed, easy to find human being who's ever lived, so it's if someone loses touch with me, they're just not trying. I'm pretty sure you could just yell Richard and I'll probably show up. There's decent odds. So I go to this gala. Then a new Gundam anime comes out, so I download a stupid Gundam mobile game, which is just an SD Gundam, the turn-based strategy one's mobile game.
Okay.
So I've been listening to Gundam on TV while playing Gundam on my phone while sending out job applications.
Nice.
So I'm emotionally feeling great. The new Gundam series is an alternate retelling of the 1 Year War, but Zeon won because Char just stole the Gundam.
Yeah, okay.
So that's episode 1, and then episode 2 is 7 years later, and I'm this is great. I have no idea what's going on, but I love me some Gundam. Plus, I'm one of those heathens that prefers dubbed anime to subbed, and Gundam always launches dual language for the most part.
Right.
So, I'm just out here, other than preparing for grad school and job hunting and this and that, just kind of living my best life for a couple weeks, busted out the old PS2 to play some Gundam vs. Zeta Gundam. It was good times were had. I also learned that Gotcha Force was developed by the same team that developed Gundam vs. Zeta Gundam, where Capcom stopped making Gundam games, so instead they made Gotcha Force, which uses the Gundam game engine, but they use their own units in it.
Huh.
Right? There's a piece of knowledge that no one ever needed or asked for.
Well, I mean, that's on brand for us.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty clear podcast. And I think I taught everyone well. And with that note, we're going on to the topic of anime teachers. Disclaimer, for this list, we're going to try and focus on ones that also actually teach and aren't just a sensei. Because, I was thinking about this, and I'm the 5 elders from Kenichi, for example, the 5 masters, taught him a lot of things, but I do think you can actually count the Jujutsu guy as an actual teacher, because he also, helped him study and taught. But would Kenichi have been better if these super experts were all, I like to say that show would have been better if it was college age to begin with, because it would have made more logistical sense. But what if each of the elders was also just a teacher with their subject? Would that have actually just been amazing, that all 5 of them just taught different actual classes at college?
That would have been pretty amazing.
You just go to 4th period, and it's just Apachai teaching art history.
Yeah, see, so So the main reason that I wanted to talk about teachers in anime, there's a series on Crunchyroll. It's called The Irregular at the Magic Academy.
Yes, I have thoughts about that. I have so many thoughts about that show. But let's see where you're going with this first before I start ranting about resurrection guns.
Well, so I haven't gotten very far. I started the second plot arc of the first season.
Is that where he builds the floaty belt?
Yeah, that's where he builds the flying device. Yes.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure my memory was that good on this one.
The first plot arc is just called Enrollment. I think it's like 6 or 7 episodes. And terrorists. Well, okay, so first there's terrorists that are seeking to cause social upheaval by taking advantage of the disparity between magic users and non-magic users. They're trying to basically cause a civil war to destroy the country from within.
I.e. the plot of every comic series ever made, particularly X-Men style comics.
Right. But so some of the students that sympathize with the terrorists because their school is divided into Class 1 and Class 2.
Yep. Wasn't it like the snowflakes and the rejects or something?
Blooms and weeds.
That was close. I do appreciate in 2025 calling a class the snowflakes, though.
Anyways, so Class 2, the weeds. Some of the students sympathize with the terrorists because Class 2 isn't as good at magic, and so they steal the master key to the broadcast room, and then they break in and do a broadcast. And eventually, the broadcast gets shut off, but they're still in the room, and it's locked, and they can't get out. No one can get in because the master key has been stolen.
Yeah,
and the student council is trying to figure out what to do here, and they're like, "Oh, well, stealing the master key is literally criminal activity."
Yeah.
Right? And then they decide not to involve the police and instead have a debate between them and the people in the broadcasting room.
Sure.
And so they set up this debate. And they go to the debate, and there's firstly, it's not really a very good debate because there's no moderator. But secondly, this is their response to criminal activity, and there have been 0 adults that I've seen. And then while they're doing this debate, they kind of get to the end of the debate, and the actual terrorists attack, and they stop the terrorist attack on the school, and they manage to figure out where their base is. And the students and the student council decide to go and raid this terrorist base, right?
Like you do.
Well, like you do, right? But nowhere at any point has there been any teachers, no adults whatsoever. One of the issues that Class 2 has is that they don't get the same amount of resources as Class 1. One of those resources being faculty time, like office
hours.
Time, right? And it's like office hours. Yeah, that's what I mean to say. But there's no faculty. Like I haven't seen them. They just don't exist. It's a school, and I get that the story is not about the lessons or the classes, but like at least have like a teacher explain a concept that is then going to be the focus of that episode. Like why? And so I was thinking about it. It was like, how many series have I seen where it's supposedly set in a high school, but there are no teachers?
So, it's interesting because the series I'm going to pivot into, which has many, many other problems, like a deeply problematic series of the Tuaru no Index and its various spin-offs, and they lampshade this problem in an interesting way. So, teachers barely ever do shit in that show. They occasionally will. But they set up this academy city to develop supernatural powers in people, right? The reason there's never like adults to actually solve the problems and why kids solve the problems is these superpowers are new because they just started giving them to kids because that's who you give them to because that's how it works.
Okay.
So it's like you have to like start with a kid showing special abilities and then you take them to this place to amplify them. So there's almost no teachers in this, but it doesn't bug you as much to be like, why are we sending kids if one person can flick a coin at the speed of a railgun and the other one has a riot shield and a baton? So they will use the, like, there's like one professor that'll like show up in like Expo Dump once in a while about how the power system works. And that's pretty much it for adult interference in the show. But at least like, because the Irregular in the Magic Academy is like, you think you'd have people with magic teaching the magic school to begin with? Like,
right.
That would probably be the strategy.
Well, I mean, like, I totally get it that it's like sometimes that the academia portion of the show is not really the focus. Although
I do think part of that problem, because I'm going to like interject a bit, is I think people underestimate the value of the academia portion of a show. As someone who likes those portions of a show, it's the super genius problem. So when you write a character to be smart, you yourself have to be smart. And I do think a lot of people writing manga don't have it retained enough from high school to convincingly have a teacher give a high school lecture. Like, so to dunk on My Hero Academia. So My Hero Academia takes place in a school. Straight up. And the professors are all heroes in the hero school. This makes sense. This is a good concept. And then they just like send the children to the front lines to fight because I guess that's where the action is. And then just the school stops being a thing, even though they couldn't even get through like 2 school years. I'm like, did you just not have more than like 4 lessons planned for this manga? Because they're like, we're going to do a power test and then a fighting thing and then a school festival. I guess we're done with the school. And I'm like, schools operate constantly. Is there nothing else you can do? Like, don't you want to like world build or lore build or have more like, they like to call them filler moments, but I'm kind of pivoting more towards character building moments. Because like most of my favorite moments in My Hero Academia are when they were still students. Like, I don't find the League of Villains jumping them more interesting than them using their superpowers to put on a rock concert. Like, the balance made sense. So My Hero just like, yeah, it's called My Hero Academia. Funny that they turned the school into a flying fortress at the end for some reason. Guess to keep the school relevant. And I'm like, yeah, no, you never had these professors teach a lesson in their life. You had this little subplot of All Might like reading a how to teach guide so he could be a better teacher. And instead he just builds a mech suit and goes out himself because he didn't teach anyone a damn thing over the entire show. It was kind of a terrible teacher. He even mentioned to Protag that he'd get 7 superpowers. Like, that wasn't relevant information. Imagine saying I tutored this kid and he broke both his arms and his legs and be like, yep, I tutored him great.
But then it's like, there's a series like Kaguya-sama Love is War.
Yeah, there's no teachers in that.
There are no teachers in that, but most of what actually goes on in there, like, they meet at school, they go to clubs or whatever, but most of what actually goes on happens outside of school hours.
Yeah.
Or a lot of it happens outside of school hours.
I mean, full disclaimer, that's just one of my favorite series of all time, somehow.
So it's like that's another series where it's like there aren't really any teachers. They never do anything, but at the same time, you don't really notice because the students aren't stopping terrorists.
Well, the thing about Kaguya-sama though is there's a few. There's like they mentioned the school president a few times, and he's like has a couple sit downs, being like, "You're the student council president." Like, there's like adults that are paying some attention. Like, there's a few moments that like an adult will pull a character to have like an aside, or other times be like the teachers don't notice the bullying. But then they have the bullying happen in a way that it makes sense that the teachers wouldn't notice the bullying. Like, oh, when they're out playing soccer, some kids just called him a weeb. And this girl started spreading rumors over Discord that he's a creep. Yeah, a teacher wouldn't really be able to do much about that until someone actually were to come to the teacher and tell them this was happening. But like, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to pivot into one of that stupid new series with the gun.
Oh,
I can't even think of
Marshall
his name
King.
right now.
So
Marshall King.
we haven't talked about that at all on podcast, and I do want to throw a couple things about it. So for those who are unaware, which should be everybody, Marshall King is a manga series being done by the creator of Dr. Stone, I believe. And
No, it's not by the creator of Dr. Stone. It's by the artist of Dr. Stone, who is himself a Korean manga artist and writer who just moved to Japan.
And before we tear this series a new one, it has the best use of color I've ever seen in manga. Where they keep it like 90% black and white, but they'll use gold for dramatic flair and effect. And it looks artistically, shout out to that technique. I would love if a better story used that art style. The like very controlled, deliberate, like it makes me think of like Sin City. And I'm like, yeah, no, artistically that's amazing.
Okay, well, so I don't necessarily want to throw too much shade at it at this exact moment. I actually wanted to highlight. I wanted to highlight something. I've mentioned it already. When you have a teacher, and they're up at the front, they're teaching a lecture, and they just say, "Oh, and in this case, this is the gun that caused the apocalypse and made the world a desert wasteland."
Sure.
And it's here at this school, and then it's like. It's an exposition dump. It's just a reason to dump.
That's why all these take place in schools in the first place.
Right. So it's like, but for all of its flaws, at least Marshall King has teachers that genuinely do teacher things. And as an audience member, I can then know, okay, this is going to be an important theme of the show. Or, I mean,
well, it's interesting.
Seems to have gotten resolved way too quickly, but.
As someone who likes to monologue about Gundams, several Gundam series start with a character like in a classroom of someone explaining the current political structure. Although the real thing is using the teacher who explains things, but also having them be a character. Because it's so easy for a teacher in these to become NPCs. So let's take Satoru Gojo, the protagonist of JJK. Satoru Gojo is objectively the worst teacher. And Jujutsu Kaisen taking place at a school is the most pointless plot choice they made. There was no reason for there to be a school. No one attended a single class.
Yeah.
And I didn't even mind the idea that there's literally 3 students in each year, because that's how many people they found with weird superpowers. I actually liked that part. I had an epiphany there, as a writer being like, oh, you're right. I don't need 20 NPCs in this room. I can just have there be less people with superpowers. But because it's superpowers, you get 1 teacher per 3 students. That's fair. But then the show, immediately promoted the students to field agents within 30 seconds. And I'm like, why are they even students? Just age everyone up to being adults and have them recruit them and give them an office. In fact, JJK would have been so much better if Yuji, Megumi, and Nobara were adults who had graduated high school, and Gojo just rolled up and said, come work at my agency. And it was a nice lawyer office where they proceeded to then go murder curses and have terrible things happen to them and it'd be the worst life decision ever. And Nanami coming in and being a sorcerer sucks would have been really funny if he had to use a punch clock in a wall to come in and say being a sorcerer sucks, because it was in fact also his day job. Because it gained nothing from being a school.
It really did.
But
it gained nothing. Yeah.
Now here's what gained everything from being a school. Assassination Classroom.
So, I was actually going to segue.
Oh, okay. Counterspell my segue. I'll force spike you. I'll do it.
This website is called www.ranker.com.
Yes, which is funny because it's not their thoughts. It's literally people's opinions. Ranker's wild for that. It's if Ranker does something insane on its listings, like putting 7 JJK characters in anime's top 10 hottest men for some reason. That's the voice of the internet. It's literally popular opinion. Ranker's great for giving us awful information about humanity. But please continue.
So the best teachers that's your teacher characters in anime history. They seem to think more sensei than school teacher. Number 1, Kakashi Hatake. He is.
So here's the thing.
I would agree if it was Iruka-sensei, because Iruka-sensei is genuinely a teacher and he's a real character in the show.
So
Kakashi
Kakashi's been
And for
coasting on his Riz for like 20 years. Because he was also in 5th place for Taudis Anime Men, because I watched that listing earlier today because someone did a video on it. It was really funny. And it was like, Yuji and Sukuna made it on the list. I'm like, that's just the same dude, but one's tatted up. This is a dumb list.
but so the segue, why I decided to segue here, is that Kakashi is number one, not really a teacher. He's a sensei, but he's not.
He walks in one classroom and has a brush fall on his head and does a belt test.
Exactly. But Koro-sensei is number 2 anime teacher in history.
I do think that, like, Kakashi, just like I said, is a cooler character than Koro-sensei. Kakashi, the actual protagonist of Naruto. Fun fact, if I were to make like a Naruto gachapon game, I'd have you play as Kakashi, because he's the person like actually building, like, Kakashi is actually like a through line throughout the entire story. Like, he's the Pokemon trainer to the other characters. But he failed to teach Sasuke anything so hard. And, like, he also didn't... It's funny is, he doesn't teach Naruto a damn thing till Act 2. Like, deliberately just, I'm gonna go teach Sasuke in the Sharingan's only club. Sakura can just, I don't know, cut her hair and go die, I don't care. Like, Kakashi was a terrible sensei. Like, objectively. He was an awesome Black Ops ninja. Terrible sensei. Because, yeah, Iruka was a decent one.
You had mentioned that Assassination Classroom, which is where Koro-sensei comes from, was actually a really excellent...
like I said, I have my one complaint that the final fight had 2 squid monsters, and they didn't use their entire arc of squid monsters training to kill one of the squid monsters. Was just such a wasted opportunity. It like had a perfect ending, but its final fight could have been better, but still a gold standard. Like, Koro-sensei literally knows every character, and they use that as a writing device to make us, the readers, at least know something about a truly large cast, and by the time you get to the end of it, you have a pretty good idea about most of the people in that classroom.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. That is a great example of an actual school teacher in anime, even if he is an alien, and it's an action set piece kind of show.
But he's also the protagonist.
Well, he is also the protagonist.
Like, he's actually the protagonist. So, Eraserhead for My Hero is, like, right on the middle. He starts as a teacher, and then they forget to be about the school completely. So when you get him doing it's like, I cut off my leg before the anti-quirk bullet gets to me, to stare at him to turn off his power, because I'm awesome, sleep-deprived Batman. I'm like, okay. But, like, you started as their teacher, and then you just outsourced everybody to internships and field work, and you just kind of, like, never actually finished teaching anyone. Like, he had a strong start, and then the show forgot.
Have you ever seen Bungo Stray Dogs?
Bungo Stray Dogs is amazing and terrible and beautiful.
So Osamu Dazai, I don't know.
Terrible
is he
teacher.
Actually a teacher? Is he actually a teacher though,
No,
or is
he's
he
an
just
employer?
Okay.
He literally is like, this is our book detective agency. Welcome aboard. He is not a sensei. He is a burnt-out librarian, specifically. And I relate strongly to burnt-out librarians.
Have you ever seen Great Teacher Onizuka?
He should be on a watch list.
So he is also not a school teacher?
No, I'm going to give a tangent on this one. So, when I started working at Redacted Pizza about 7, 8, 10 years ago now, my kitchen manager was into a few very specific 90s animes.
All right.
He was into... And he had a bunch of tattoos and was skateboarding in the back of the restaurant. Guy was a legend. He liked Dragon Ball, like you do. He liked Naruto, like you do. And he recommended to me Great Teacher Onizuka. Onizuka's motivation, and this is so 90s, you could not write this manga in 2025, is he became a high school teacher to find himself a teenage bride specifically, and was a former biker gangster. And he accidentally becomes a super inspiring force and accidentally becomes a good teacher, but his motivation was to be a creep.
I see.
So, it was an interesting read. But, like, the idea of, like, a gangster comes to a school for selfish, awful reasons, ends up inspiring people because he was like 22 years old, becomes a substitute teacher. Like, the premise was good, but like the idea that like that kind of like Master Roshi style comedy is dead. That's it. It was literally based around like the Master Roshi style comedy of this 22-year-old wants to lose his virginity, so he decides to become a substitute school teacher. Is a terrible, terrible premise that would never get greenlit.
I see.
And probably inspired a lot of series after it.
Well, so I'm like I said, I'm going down this list of.
But I will say, ironically, if you rewrote this and changed his core motivation to literally anything else, he was actually a good teacher. It's just fun fact. We've decided that teachers hitting on students should not be a thing, and there's entire decades of movies that try and say that it's fine, right?
So I was going down this list of great teachers in anime, and Onizuka is I lost him, but he's in the 40. No, he's number 39 on this list. Somehow he manages to find himself above Henry Henderson from a Spy Family. Spy Family is only at 46. And going down this list, that was the first actual school teacher. I mean, My Hero Academia doesn't count. There was a bunch of teachers from there.
So I'm looking at the ranker list as well. And I will say, so they have Azumi Curtis on here from Full Metal Alchemist. In terms of being a teacher, if she had a classroom, yeah.
Fair enough.
Like, if Full Metal Alchemist was a high school anime, she would objectively have been a good teacher. For the purposes of our discussion today, nope. Although you did mention Haruka, I'm like, yeah, no. If Naruto's, like, spent longer in the academy days, would have absolutely counted. What the hell is Asuma doing on here? No. What is Minato doing on here? Minato never taught a day in his life. He's just like, Minato's teaching job resulted in Obito.
Well, and then like the frog sensei Fukusaku. Like, what? No. Or Kisuke Uehara, also definitely not a real teacher.
So Nanami, I'll let them have. In JJK, they were, like I said, they were technically students, and he was technically an professor. More importantly, he actually, unlike Gojo, actually taught Yuji things. But he was like,
Yeah, okay.
He was absolutely a mentor. Like, that was a mentorship. Like, you should have been paying Yuji. He was doing professional labor.
Master Roshi is actually an interesting one. I mean, he is a perverted old sensei trope.
Yeah.
But in original Dragon Ball, he does genuinely teach Krillin and Goku math and reading and writing. He just, does it in a perverted, lecherous way.
So it's like, Roshi does better than a lot. Like, the fact that Koro-sensei's not literally at the top of this list is just an insult. Kakashi belongs at the top of a lot of lists. This is not one of them. Also, All Might is way too high up on this list for it being the teacher list.
Really, this list just seems to be popular adult characters in animes.
Right, like, we'll go down a bit and we'll go to Igneal, who did in fact teach Natsu how to read and write. And Igneal, if this was a list of best anime dads, I have Igneal, like, in first, probably. Igneal was a great dad.
Fairy Tail was a pretty good series in general. And I mean, it gets props for not being in a high school. And it's kind of weird that the series is not in a high school, and yet Igneal is 22 on this list of greatest teachers.
So it's funny is, like, we're talking about great teacher Onizuka and the idea that gangster who accidentally inspires people, kind of like the karate, like almost like the Cobra Kai teacher guy. It's like, yeah, like teachers who aren't school teachers but are like specialty teachers are fair game in this discussion. But we want the classroom to be a factor, because the original debate was, where are all the teachers? And I find it falls on like a spectrum of either there's no teachers in this anime,
Mhm.
or these teachers are shown in protagonists and aren't actually teaching anyone anything.
Right.
So we all go all the way down to 31, Frankenstein.
Oh, Frankenstein is actually a teacher?
Right in the middle, right? He teaches classes. He mentors people in and
Okay.
out of the classroom. His first experience is him trying to murder them, and he like beats the crap out of them. And then he shows next day to give a lecture.
Hmm.
He is absolutely a teacher and a side character, but like pretty good. Like Soul Eater had good teaching staff. Like they had like the zombie guy, they had him. They actually taught things at Death Academy. Like they sent them out on missions, but they then like went back to lectures. So I would say Soul Eater had actual teachers who did their jobs pretty well, including literal death from the Bible did his job pretty well too.
But do you think that he deserves to be higher on this list than Henry Henderson?
Frankenstein?
From
Yes.
Spy- Frankenstein's better than Henry Henderson as a teacher?
So Frankenstein, while going insane, while falling in love with another teacher, turned out to be an evil witch, did a lot of teaching. Like Soul Eater, for the first half of it, kind of like My Hero, but to a more like consistent consent. Yeah, no, he did his job pretty well. And like, he got more screen time. Was he a better anime teacher than Henry Henderson? If Spy Family came out regularly and was a completed story, it'd be a much firmer debate.
Right.
But he just hasn't quite had enough screen time to teach yet.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they did do his whole wartime backstory with his lover lady friend that went off to war, but
on the list, like I've been building internally by removing everyone who doesn't count on this list. I have Stein at like 4. Like I don't even put All Might on this list because like he just wasn't good at. He never actually taught a class.
Okay, so Koro-sensei is definitely number 1.
Yeah.
Who was number 2 for you?
Well,
Izumi
I'm still using their list. I'm just removing everyone who doesn't fit in it. So number 2, just using their list but being correct about it. We go all the way down to Iruka.
Yeah, okay.
And then we go
because he actually genuinely was a teacher.
Yeah, then we go all the way down to Shoto Ozawa, Eraserhead.
Yeah, okay.
We put an asterisk next to Nanami.
Okay.
We go all the way down. Going, still going, still going, still going, still going, still going. All the way down, still going to Stein at like 4th. 30 people on this list were objectively not teachers.
Objectively not teachers. I mean...
Silver Rayleigh did not teach. That's not what he did.
Yeah, I mean, so... Sensei is more of just an honorific term in Japanese, but in North American culture, in my opinion anyways, it definitely is more that master-apprentice relationship rather than that actual student-teacher relationship.
Yeah, like...
And so this list seems to be more senseis rather than actual teachers.
Because, yeah, like, Roshi gets close. Like, Roshi, I'd probably also put a star next to him. Because, like, at one point he actually sets up desks, even though he has them read on pornography. He was not a good teacher, but he tried.
He is actually a teacher, though.
Where Igneo was just a dad. You don't get a count as a teacher if it's your son you're teaching. You're just a parent. And, like,
Right.
What the heck is... Like, I understand Naruto's a popular anime. Let's get the third Hokage off here. He didn't teach anyone anything of value. Did we have, like, Biscuit from Hunter x Hunter? No. Cut that out. Dazai just teaches you new fun suicide methods, so he really shouldn't be on this list as a teacher.
Right.
So Stein definitely counts. And then we go down some more. And Onozuka was the next one that's actually a teacher.
Onozuka.
Which is that great teacher from Onozuka.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
And then Chainsaw Man's a funny one, because, like, if someone had actually put Denji in high school, his life would be so much better right now.
Well, I mean, he does have a few moments where he's actually in high school. Because, I mean, the whole point of the second... Well, the starting point of the second act is him being at school and taking the control demon, the reincarnated control demon to school, and she only goes along because she enjoys going to school, but she knows that she could just kill everyone if she wanted to.
So then we scroll our way down, And then we get to Henry Henderson at my 7th or 8th on my revised list where I moved everyone who's objectively not a teacher.
Right?
So Henry Henderson would definitely go on the list. So President Mike, I'm not counting. He doesn't teach a class. He's just like the MC in the radio hall. Like, no. Midnight's a little closer. She does teach a class or two.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to let Reagan count. He doesn't teach in a classroom, but he's absolutely like full-time mentoring this kid.
Fair enough. And definitely not the sensei relationship, because he's just... He is not a sensei.
No. He's Reagan. He's great. I'll have to put an asterisk on him. I don't think I can actually count it. So then we get Yukiko Uramura next.
Oh, he's actually a teacher?
100%. So, in Blue Exorcist, unlike JJK, which felt the need to have a classroom with no one in it, Blue Exorcist Academy actually had a full graduation program that took place over years and actually taught. And he actually taught. He had his teaching license and went and taught people how to exorcist while being the protagonist's brother. He's absolutely on this list. He was a good teacher. Sure, he got possessed by Satan, but he was a good teacher.
Madara Uchiha from Naruto. He's a good teacher, right?
I mean, who's he even a sensei to? Obito, I guess, when he was gaslighting him, maybe? That was just a weird choice to be on this list at all. Madara doesn't teach. He never stood there and be like, here's how you do the hand signs for a fireball jutsu. No. He preached. And then we got I'm not counting Zappelli.
No?
Nah, I thought about it, but no. He mostly just pontificated and explained to us what was happening, the viewer.
Right.
Maybe, they never forgot it. Jotaro never got, part one's weird, because a training arc would have made so much sense, and a time skip would have made so much sense, but that just didn't happen. He's here's how you punch the frog, and then Joe could just punch the frog, and it was done. Likewise, Wing Sensei from Hunter x Hunter was just there to show us the Nen type chart. And we're getting near the end of, people I recognize. We got from Fairy Tail, which is much closer than Igneal, but she did adopt those two ice wizards she trained, so it's those were your children. You're not a teacher if you're teaching your children.
Mm-hmm.
We got anime characters that are absolutely not senseis. Get Rin off this list. Get Korin
I
off
was
this
going to
list.
say Rin Tosaka from Fate Stay Night, but she is not even a sensei.
You know the joke being
she's
that
not a teacher.
In Fate Zero, and then the later Fate sequels in this franchise, Weber from Fate Zero goes to school, gets his teaching degree, and becomes a mage instructor.
Okay.
And is actually just a professional magic teacher in a lecture hall teaching students how to mage. That's who should be there. Or even the actual teacher from that was a martial artist person who didn't really accomplish anything is at least a teacher. That name should not be on this list.
But okay, so I mean now I think we've gone through the flawed list enough that it's okay, so there's lots of animes that have senseis.
It's kind of
and there are
I need to stop one more name on this list before we move on to our core topic and wrap up. Is I finally got to a character from Kenichi, right? So in Kenichi, a show about 6 characters specifically training the protagonist, probably the closest from breaking from sensei to actual teacher, because a lot of these senseis don't actually teach; they just show off their superpowers. Right. Which Kenichi character do you think showed up first for best teacher, knowing what you know about the characters? And this list is best teacher. Who do you think showed up first?
Well, I mean, so it's been a while since I've read Kenichi.
Yeah.
I see that Shigure Kosaka
I'm
is
so
number
mad
71.
about this. This is completely unacceptable.
Isn't she the weapons master?
She's the worst one at being a teacher. By a lot.
Yeah.
He doesn't use weapons.
Huh.
She shows up twice and mostly just makes him a shirt. It should absolutely be the Jujutsu guy in first. Apache may be in first because he has the most passion for it. I could even see a good argument for the alcoholic karate guy who absolutely is super invested in his student but pretends not to care.
Right.
But all of them are objectively better teachers. And, like, I'm sorry, Jujutsu guy's the one who came up with an actual training plan and trained him every day. That was his actual teacher. The one who actually taught him things. Shigure didn't do shit.
Oh.
I call bullshit. Like,
okay.
Then we get to Sakaki 2 down, and then we get to Asami Kojetsu 2 down. So, like, all the Kenichi people are pretty grouped together. So, like, there's only, like, 4 spaces down. But I'm so bitter about it.
Here's the funny one from the list. Number 87, the best teacher in anime history, Goku.
No. Absolutely not.
I don't think he taught anyone. I don't even think he taught Oob anything.
I agree with the list for the first time, where Apache is absolutely a better teacher than Goku. And at one point, he kicks his student's soul out of his body and has to bring it back. Because at least he, like, tries to teach him things. Oh, man. Oh, here's a character who absolutely should not be on the list. So, you know how I mentioned I read that entire, like, We Never Learn series that's now doing that Sidcraft series? So the teacher from We Never Learn's on the list. So remember how at the start of this list I pointed out that a male teacher who's 3 years older than their students becoming a teacher hitting on their students is completely morally unacceptable and should be shunned by society? This professor ends up marrying the protagonist of the story in one of these plot routes, who was their high school teacher. If a girl does it, it's a dating option. Like, Persona 5, this was so funny. So one of the teachers in Persona 5 is a creep, and your first mission in Persona 5 is to, like, break into his mind palace and get blackmail on him because he's a creep. But one of your dating options is a different teacher. And I just think it's kind of fucked up. I'm using my F-bomb of the episode for that. To be like, hey, if this man hits on a woman and they're a teacher, we as society are like, that's terrible. If we gender role flip it, it should still be equally terrible. That's just objectively true. It's just as bad, but one of them's a good ending for a manga and the other one is a villain. Okay,
well, so stepping back to the idea of teachers in schools.
Yes.
So the bottleneck portion of
hyperfixating on the list and complaining about it?
World Trigger.
Yeah.
No. The World Trigger, the bottle test.
Ugh. Why would you do this to me?
Well, no. So, I mean, it definitely implies that there's an academic portion to the organization. I'm blanking on the name for some reason.
Border.
Border, yeah. So there's an academic portion to Border. We don't really see them go into any, like, classrooms prior to the bottle test.
Osamu's in, like, regular high school at the start. Him and Yumi
he
go
is
to
in
regular high school for a while.
But would you say any of the characters in World Trigger actually count as teachers, or are they more in the sensei category?
So,
because there are lots of adults that do adult things, which is my main complaint about the Irregular at the Magic Academy, where there just are no adults doing any adult things, where there should 100% be adults dealing with terrorists.
So, for World Trigger specifically, World Trigger is my number one example of if you just age up every anime character by 3 years, your story becomes perfect. So, World Trigger is a part-time job, right? And all the characters act like employers and managers and supervisors like they should. So, if everyone in World Trigger was 18, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm in college, and then I have, like, classes 2 days a week, and I go do border service the other 2 days a week, they absolutely act like bosses, and they do it really well. Rendo is a great boss, but because it's, like, paramilitary for border, they're all military-style bosses, like... Rendo's not a teacher. He doesn't sit there and teach you things. He instead has what's her name? I want to say Azumi, but that's probably wrong. Whoever their operator is, whose name eludes me right now, because World Trigger is like 500 names. But their squad operator is told by their boss, hey, teach these new guys how triggers work. So she goes through, breaks them down, pulls out a whiteboard, explains the type of triggers. Well, they're splicing in Jin having fight scenes against those triggers. And it's like, yeah, she's not a teacher. She's the same age as this guy. But from a work point of view, she is his supervisor. Like, was literally told by the manager, okay, train these new recruits. For a workplace structure, it's perfect, right? Like, think about your own pizzeria. You're absolutely be like, hey, Vlad, can you go teach this new guy how to make a pizza? I'd be like, yeah, sure. I don't know how you're my boss, but this happens, so I might as well do it. And I proceed to go do it. And then me and you would probably go back and have a drink afterward. Like, World Trigger makes absolute sense. And, like, when we think about where our own lives are at, like, when we were working part-time at Redacted Donuts, yeah, that was kind of the structure of they're managers, not teachers. Because it's a job. And World Trigger's very overt that it's a job to a point where characters like, do we get paid for this?
Right.
And I think World Trigger would gain nothing from it being an academy. I think it would gain everything from putting everyone college age where they're actually able to just disappear for a month and just make up classes later. Because college, you can just not go to class. And that's the thing that blows my mind about these animes that are like using schools, but not really. Is in Japan, you're not going to graduate high school if you disappear for a week to fight demons. You're just not. College, you can just retake classes. That's how colleges are structured. And take a smaller course load.
Mashal's kind of an interesting one. I don't think there's any actual teachers in Mashal.
Counterpoint, there's no characters in Mashal. I read every chapter of Mashal, and I know one character's name, and it's Mashal. I did not retain anyone else's name, gimmick, backstory. None of it is in here. So yeah, every teacher could have been named with their own superpower and own backstory and personality. I wouldn't have caught any of it because my brain was not prepared to absorb Mashal lore. Nor was Mashal written in a way conductive to naturally absorbing it. Because if they wanted me to know any of these characters' names, I'd have it in here. I would, I promise. But I'd have better odds naming every character on Assassination Classroom's class list. I'd get further in that. Also, all three characters in Assassination Classroom should be higher than any of these shonen protagonist teachers, even the ones who get paid as teachers. Like Gojo gets teacher salary. That's unacceptable. Gojo is a trash person.
Unacceptable.
Just full stop. Gojo's a terrible person. He always has been. That's kind of the bit. So I've actually been watching, like, I'm waiting for it to get bad, but I'm on, like, episode 3 of a series called From Old Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman.
Okay.
And I thought it was going to be Ikusai garbage, and then it turned out not to be an Ikusai. Then I thought it was going to be harem garbage, and it turned out not to be harem garbage. It might literally be about an old man who trained a bunch of people to be swords people, who are then being recruited by their students who are now in, like, the Royal Military to teach the Royal Military because he's actually the best swordsman in the world, but didn't know it because he basically lived in Swift Current. And, like, it hasn't lost me yet. It could easily go into harem garbage or lore garbage or other garbage. But, like, the few episodes are more about, like, his sword technique and him actually teaching people swordsmen. I'm like, yeah, this man is a teacher. He's like, it's like you're stronger and faster than me, but your momentum was wrong, and my dynamic accuracy was enough that I could just simply tilt the blade to the left, catch it, and then pistol whip you with the handle of the sword.
Okay.
And here's why you were standing wrong, and here's how I did this to you, you scrub. But he was, like, polite about it.
Okay. From Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman. Gotcha.
I don't know if it's good, but, like, it seemed appropriate for this. And then Gundam the Witch from Mercury took place in an academy that had a Gundam tournament going for some reason. There was no teachers in that at all. None. Didn't matter. Didn't even pretend it mattered. Should have been teachers in it. There was not.
But like that, it's just there seems to be a lot of series where it's like this is an academy, like that Food Wars.
Food Wars.
Food War definitely takes place in a cooking academy.
Sure, it does.
I don't think there's any teachers there. Who's teaching anything? Oh,
they do that. Oh, like there's some gambling one I did. Liar's Game, I think it was. Was that like gambling school?
I don't know if it was Liar Game or not. I remember there being a gambling school one. Maybe it was Liar Game.
I don't know. There's some gambling school one that took place in gambling school where you gambled. And it's like, there's just no teachers there. And it's like, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! They were high school students, but that didn't matter. Although, in Yu-Gi-Oh!'s defense, our students went out to play card games after class. yeah, the adults don't need to do anything. Someone tells you the fate of the world depends on the card game, you laugh in their face like you're supposed to. And then Blue Lock just locks people in jail to play soccer. Which, to be fair, is about how actual sports training camps go. Just lock people in jail to play sports and then threaten to kill them if they do bad. That's how you teach sports.
Shinobi Undercover is another interesting one where, like, there are adults, but...
So I ended up dropping Shinobi Undercover. I like the premise because I liked Full Metal Panic's premise. But, like, I don't know, it just kind of, like, didn't pull me in. I don't think it did anything wrong. Like, it didn't spite drop it. This wasn't a Roboco situation. Although I will say...
Which watch situation?
The singular character in Full Metal Panic, the teacher there, does actually get a fair amount of screen time as an actual teacher. And the reason that she doesn't do much when actual terrorists attack is she is a regular teacher in Japan. And her one problem student, she doesn't know, is a trained mercenary. And it actually, the most qualified person to deal with this problem is, in fact, the student. By, like, a lot. So it's like, they're like, oh, there's a bit later in when the series decides to stop being a comedy near, like, the 3/4 mark, where he's just like, oh yeah, I've been a trained assassin this entire time to guard the student. And she's like, oh, I see. I thought we were doing bits. It's like, nope. Actual terrorists are attacking now, so I'm gonna go deal with that. Okay, thanks, bye. Like, oh, I thought this, no. But it was like, and I'm fine with only, like, a character or two, like homeroom teachers and things getting names. But man, do they love to put characters in, especially superpowered schools, and not have professors be equipped to handle this in any way, shape, or form.
To the point where the professors basically don't exist, and the student body just governs itself.
And then there's the opposite problem of, like, the Gojos and Kakashis and a lot of people we bitched about on the list, where it's like, you're just another action character. You're not a teacher. You're just here to be a stronger protagonist. So it's like a lot of these senseis are literally measuring sticks to be like, here's how strong a strong character is, so we can judge whether this new character is stronger or weaker, and we can judge the main character's power level compared to them. Like, Kakashi existed just as a measuring stick for Sasuke and Naruto.
And he's not even a very good one because the measuring stick isn't even consistent.
Yeah, but he also gets... it's funny because, like, were they going to kill him off? No, because he's the actual... like, the main villain is Obito, and his rival is Kakashi, not Naruto. Like, Kakashi's fight with Obito before he goes into Super Obito was like, yeah, no, this is like... The show about generational will could easily be reframed to be about Kakashi. It would not be hard to edit Naruto into being told from Kakashi's point of view.
I mean, then you wouldn't get the awesome slugfest between Sasuke and Naruto when they run out of chakra.
See, it was awesome, but if Kakashi's your POV character, that still works. You just have him watch that, because he's watching his students. Because it's like, I trained 2 people. One of my students turned out to be a really good person, the one I didn't believe in. And the one I did believe in turned out to be a bastard. But I taught the good one enough that he's going to win over the other one for me. Like, it's weirdly enough, Kakashi's character arc could come down to his 2 students slugging it out surprisingly appropriately, because one turned out like Obito and one turned out like Kakashi.
Right.
And the end of his arc is Sasuke comes back to the village.
Yeah.
As he ends up reelecting Hokage. And if JoJo's Bizarre Adventure had any teachers in it, maybe every JoJo wouldn't have ended up an objectively terrible person. JoJo's is amazing. It is fascinating. Every single character named JoJo is objectively just an asshole. Even, like, the good one at the start is like, I believe about honor and fairness, is out here kneeing criminals in the groin. And that's by far the nicest one. You know who probably would get teacher status despite never being in a classroom? I'd probably give that to Frieren.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she's definitely doing a lot more. Well, she's pretty close to being a teacher, I suppose.
Although I might give her the Amiel problem. I'm pretty sure she's actually just Fern's mom at this point.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I think she fits either into the parent or more so sensei than
I think the big difference between our definition and like anime definition is to be a teacher, you need to teach multiple people. I think is where we drew our line in the sand.
Yeah.
And most anime senseis pick a favorite. Or just deadbeats like Gojo.
Deadbeats like Gojo.
Gojo's such a deadbeat. I hate him so much. I feel like my problem with Gojo is we're all supposed to hate him. He was written to be hated and no one noticed but me. Like, literally every problem in the series is objectively his fault because he was cocky enough to think he could solve every problem in the series. Shibuya was 1,000,000% Gojo's fault. He lets Yuji eat the finger. He leaves Megumi to get the finger by himself because he was out at a cafe. So he leaves a teenager to do this job to get this cursed relic, gets a call that the cursed relic's been stolen, finishes his meal, rolls up, says, I can handle Sukuna whenever the hell I want, lets Yuji get more powerful, feeds Yuji more cursed fingers, sends Yuji full of cursed fingers to Shibuya to fight the super curses, signs off on that, proceeds to go suit them and fight him himself, gets brainwashed by his boyfriend he went live, specifically, and he gets put in a box. Every death in Shibuya is on Gojo's head. Everything Geto does is on Gojo's head. Everything Megumi always trying to kill himself is on Gojo's head. He is the antagonist of JJK. Nothing Kinjaku did would have worked at all if Gojo wasn't a dick.
Well, I mean, except for Kinjaku being Itadori's mom.
That didn't go anywhere. Why did that matter? I'm serious. Why did that never come up again? So, of the most pointless ass plot twists. So, they're like, okay, Itadori eats this finger. It's a coincidence. And then anime's like, no, nothing is ever a coincidence. It's because of the privilege of your birth, because we've hyper-fixated on eugenics in our racist country. I'm like, okay, fine. So, Yuji was specifically bred to be a Sukuna vessel, I guess, even though a bunch of coincidences had to happen. I guess he was just, like, genetically proposed to eating random cursed fingers.
Oh.
That he only did because the other guy said demons eat this to be stronger. So, let's pretend this was a Aizen situation, and all of that was set up. They forgot to have a point to it. Sukuna dips that vessel and goes to a different one. So what was the point? Even if it was all true, it didn't do anything. Why not just have him be a random dude? And then we're thinking, oh, maybe a special ability he has from this Kenjaku thing will somehow play a role in the final plot to defeating Sukuna, where Kenjaku's defeated by his own hubris, by creating this body he never got to... Nope, had nothing to do with anything.
Nope.
Just hit him with the friendship punch, and hit him with Dismantle because he knew Dismantle because he was Sukuna's vessel. Sure. Just so mad at that. Ugh. Not related to our episode topic at all. But why do you do this to me, manga? Why? Why not just let a character be a dude? It's like when I got equally angry when they're like, Luffy didn't just have the rubber fruit, he had the special god fruit. Because his dad's special, his grandpa's special, and I'm like, cool. That doesn't that just make all his accomplishments lame and undercut the entire premise of this? No? Okay.
Well, see, and that's something we talked about when I was talking about Paranoid Mage. When I got to the end of the series and someone posted a comment like, oh, how come we never found out who his parents were? And it's like, because that's the point, because he's just a random dude that like just stirred shit up in the magic world. Like,
man, they chickened out on that on Star Wars.
Yeah, they did.
They were going to get into it and then backed off, which is so much worse. Like, the worst thing you do is start making a turn and then swerve back into your lane. Like, that's just incorrect tactic. But, like, it keeps happening. Like, all of the big four, Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, and Dragon Ball, all of them decide to pull your parentage's special card. Although in Dragon Ball's case, it was you're an alien, which we're all willing to accept given the things Goku does.
Yeah, and again, Dragon Ball kind of subverts the trope even
until
in itself,
Super, where Bardock specifically wishes for his son to grow up prosperous, therefore making it rigged somewhat. Or when Bardock was the legendary Super Saiyan somehow.
I mean, ignoring those little side tangents, half of the point of Goku's character is that he is a lowly Saiyan, and he's a nobody, and that he ends up becoming somebody through hard work and effort.
Which would have been so much better if he wasn't an alien at all, but, whatever. Technically, Tien exemplifies that more. Shout out my boy Tien.
Tien.
So many things. I'm shocked My Hero didn't do it. I really thought they're setting up Deku to be like All for One's bastard son, or be like, oh, his quirk was stolen. Da, da, da. No, he just seemed to be quirkless, and then picked up All for One, which coincidentally works best when you're the most special. By not being, the thing that made him special was not being special, which I guess is fine. But then he lost his superpowers and got his Iron Man suit. But like, is it bad? That would have been a better story if he had no quirk the entire time and slowly built an Iron Man suit over the course of the series. Like, he just never, like, All for One just wasn't a thing, and it was Deku gets let into hero school because he tries really hard, so All Might just lets him in even though he has no power, and he slowly builds himself a mech suit over the course of it. That would have been such a better show.
Yeah.
Instead of just having a mech suit out of nowhere.
Him actually having to use tactics and planning to be able to defeat the other heroes who have powers.
Right? Like, that would have been great. That would have been so much better. I didn't mind when his power just blew him up, though. And then he had to use it in clever ways. And then they're like, instead of being clever, let's just give you 8 superpowers so you can just do anything now. The curve in My Hero. Because they've abandoned the academia. Like, my dream manga,
Right.
like, if someone wanted to write a perfect manga for me, you would take the character writing and classroom writing of Kaguya-sama Love is War, and then combine it with the setting of something like My Hero. Where, like, one of my friends who's a really successful YA writer put this really well about YA. When a character's in their teens, all things are of equal importance to them. Their crush and the fate of the world are equally important to this character. That's how you write compelling YA, is a character's crush and the fate of the world are equal to them, where for an adult, they're not.
Right.
And then you find...
Unless you're watching something from the CW Arrowverse.
Now, Arrowverse is YA.
Yeah, but they're all adults.
Are they, though? Are you sure? I'm pretty sure it's all YA. Like, I think you heard me give my rant where it's like nuclear missiles have been fired and they stopped to have like a heart-to-heart. I'm like, nuclear missiles! This is where we draw the line. The line is right there. Nothing else matters. Literally nothing. Why are you like this?
Because it's YA.
Right, like CW is YA for 20-year-olds. That's why we made a new genre called New Adult, which is YA for 20-year-olds. You'll notice that everyone in the Arrowverse is in their 20s somehow. But with that, I'm going to move to a random question I decided first, and then we'll go into a regular random question. So after going through a topic, who is your pick for Best Anime Teacher?
Who is my pick for Best Anime Teacher?
Yeah, now that we've discussed what we mean by that.
Oh boy. I did not come prepared for that.
Punk. That's what you get.
Best Anime Teacher.
No, it's not Gojo. You know who's probably would count as a teacher that wasn't on our list? I'd give it to Senku.
Senku?
Who actually, like, teaches people, like, teaches civilization how to do things. That's his whole shtick.
Oh, Dr. Stone.
Yeah, I'd give him that. I'd give him a teacher role, for sure. Even though he's younger than most of the people he's teaching, Blackwords came out. And when he was defeated, his students specifically, he had taught enough to, like, bring him back.
Oh. See, I have a lot of difficulty when I'm on the spot like this, because it's like, hey, I think of all the academies that we just went over, where it's like it's set in an academy, but there aren't actually any teachers, which is a problem because
you know what?
I need to think of an actual teacher.
Here's my question. So you're in the series Irregular at the Magic School. What character would you make a teacher? Grab from any other series to put in to be a teacher in that classroom where there are none. Who are you promoting to teach this Magic Academy class? Their superpowers will be switched over appropriately. Like, what character did that series need for you to not be frustrated at the lack of teacher?
I don't know. That's definitely an easier question. What? I think it would be somewhat counterproductive because a lot of the series is about null magic or counter magic, basically, cast jamming. But I think Eraserhead actually would probably be like with it. Like, I don't know how they would work it in. Maybe he would just have one of those rings. But if he was actually there, and then it's like when the terrorist attack, he's out there with the students trying to non-lethal force, turn off their magic and whatnot. I think that he would probably fit right in.
All right. So for this same question, I'm going to promote Nanami to actually being in front of a classroom. The guy who clocks in who's like, I was a sorcerer and it sucked. So I became a teacher and it sucks. And then just clocks in. Because like the energy is they're in like the loser class. And he's just like, I'm in charge of the loser class because I was an accountant and it sucked. And then because here's the thing about Nanami, why this would be awesome. So the terrorists would attack. We've had Nanami bitch about his job the whole time. Takes off his tie, wraps up his fist, and name of your allies and their locations, and beats the terrorists. Like Nanami would be almost a wasted character. The salaryman who hates his job but hates his enemies more. That would be my pick. Is I'd throw Nanami in front of there. He's just like the sorcerers. Like, I was a professional sorcerer and it sucked. So I'm a teacher, which also sucks. I feel like the series just needs a nihilist in front of the classroom to then shit kick some terrorists.
I agree.
All right, and let's pull in our actual random question.
Okay.
This question comes in from Anonymous. You know, I probably would name drop people if they requested it. All right, so what animal who can now talk in this scenario would you have host the podcast instead of you? What species of animal would you have replace you next week for the podcast?
What species of animal would I? Okay.
Or do you want to replace me with an animal instead? Because I already know what I would replace you with in an instant.
Okay, well, what would you replace me with?
Talking capybara.
A capybara?
It's so chill. To play off my chaos energy, it'd be pretty great.
I didn't really wasn't really thinking about synergy. I was more so thinking about like they need to be something like my very first thought is Perry the Platypus.
Amazing. No notes. Perry the Platypus's podcast would be so good. We don't need either of us involved in that. I just listen to that. And he just has this Doominator, right? But like the thing is, he has a daughter, so I don't want to rough him up too bad. So I roll up on him, right?
But Australia seems like a prime place for any sort of animal to have tons of interesting stories to tell. So like maybe a kangaroo would be a good choice too.
I appreciate that.
A platypus and a koala, that would be pretty good, like zany energy and chill energy.
Well, I still want to do the mix, right? So like if you give me a platypus, I feel the need to grab like something like the blandest, like I think I'd go Canadian goose. Like just something hateful and mean. Although, to be fair, Canadian Goose would just instantly turn into Redacted's podcast and start complaining about how autistic kids don't pay taxes. It's utter bullshit. All right.
Okay, wait. Just I got a follow-up random question just based on my comment there.
Beautiful.
The main character, the Irregular at the Magic Academy.
The Gary Sue, yes.
Firstly, do you know if he has a spell that restricts his emotional range, or is he just one of those anime characters that is very clearly like autistic?
I think he has a spell that limits his range. I think they mentioned at one point he's using a lot of his bandwidth for things.
Yeah, okay, because like it's just Gary Stu. I mean, autism isn't exactly a superpower, but it does come with some
It can be
unusual
used
thought
correctly.
processes. Exactly, like in the right application, someone with autism can be far superior in a variety of ways than
Well, if I learned anything
normal
bitching Gundam
people.
over the last week, it's that new types are just autistic people in space. Almost every new type is strongly autistically coded in all of Gundam. Like, watching it from that lens, I'm like, oh yeah, no. Camille is like the most obviously autistic coded person I've ever seen. But not related.
You mentioned, I don't know if you actually did a paper on it for your classes or not.
Probably.
But you had mentioned that Freerin displays a lot of autistic characteristics. Yeah,
actually, that paper is amusingly on my portfolio website. So anyone listening to this podcast who clicks my link tree and goes to my author website can actually read that paper.
I found that I found that interesting, and B, I was like, like this misunderstood super genius who is incredibly humble and doesn't seem to realize his own potential, but acts very emotionally unusual. It's like he just appears to be neurodivergent in some way, but it is possible he's just under some sort of spell that makes him that way.
Let's see. So, after doing a quick Google search, the first result was he likely has ASD. So the internet seems to be on this. But yeah, apparently there is plot points about it later.
Yeah, okay.
So he might be like, oh god, they might have literally gave him an autism vaccine. Oh no. So vaccine
worse than the thinly veiled racism.
So vaccines don't cause autism, but I'm not saying you can't magically make something in a lab to try and give someone autism. That's not a real thing. But in fiction, there's no reason you couldn't. And that's a problem. Oh, that is... What a series that would be to read. Someone going around doing that to people. So many questions. Oh no. Well, we're going to wrap up here. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, I'm happy ending it on vaccines don't cause autism and don't magically give people autism.
That is definitely a criminal thing to do.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, what a risky territory for the last minute.